Good afternoon and assalamu alaikum everyone. Yes, I really did count the number of Club 100 overtakes I made in 2024, and it was a whopping 99. These include everything from sends, switchbacks, the overtakes that didn't stick, and of course, the dirty moves. I have discounted every lapping overtake and any opening lap mayhem overtakes because, let's be real, those aren't real overtakes. But if you would like to see a compilation of race starts, then make sure to leave a like and let me know down in the comments below. To start with, we are going to jump into a set of overtakes I like to call the naughties. These are all the overtakes that are a bit sketchy, but I will let you decide for yourselves if any are penalty worthy. We're going to start off our naughties with this incident with Lewis Marchand. I go up the inside, but I understeer on the wet stuff and I make a little bit of side-to-side contact. Our second one is heading into the hairpin at Shennington. I'm late on the brakes and there's a tiny bit of contact, but was it enough to push him wide or was he going wide anyway? Who knows? Our next clip is still at Shennington and I decide to make it 3 wide, which is definitely a bit sketchy and maybe penalty worthy. This one at Buckmore Park, I think, might have been penalty worthy. I got a good run and I went up the inside, but I don't get very close to the apex. I probably could have done a better job. At Ella Park, I went up the inside. Again, there's a bit of side-to-side contact, but should he have left me more room? Another one at Ella Park, and this time I give a little push heading into the hairpin, which is a bit naughty. And then this, just completely all over the curb, understeer wide into the driver outside. Only 7 naughties out of 99 overtakes. That means that less than 10% of my overtakes are sketchy. I'm pretty sure that's good, right? Our next bunch of clips are what I like to call the gifts. These are overtakes that occurred from drivers messing up or waving me through. Our very first gift is this one at Buckmore Park, and the driver's gone completely wide in the wet, and that has allowed me through. Thanks, Mike. Another one of our gifts, this time Jack O'Neill. He has a moment, he's scared of me trying to drive away, and that just allows me through. This time, it's another one of the Titan boys, as Owen Jedman goes wide, and I say, thank you very much. And it's another one from Jack O'Neill, but this time he points me through. He's like, let's hunt down Fraser together, and I say, indeed we do. This one is Owen Camber not knowing how to brake, and I don't know what he did, but it was quite impressive. And this was Jack O'Neill going up the inside of Josh Wood. Wood turns in and spins himself round, and this is Harrison Kirkham getting absolutely murdered. 7 gifts, one of which featured a driver nearly dying. Now, our next bunch of clips are also not really proper overtakes. These are the overtakes from capitalizing on other drivers battling. I call these the follow-throughs. Our very first follow-through is going to be at Clay Pigeon, and you can already see that the gap's opened up for me. I'm on the inside, I just need to make this overtake stick, which I do, and then I'm going to slam the door shut on corner exit. Another one at Buckmore Park, this time the driver in red just ends up going a bit wide. When 2 drivers are going side by side into turn 1, you know it's going to end in disaster. So I set myself up and I take 2 positions. Lovely jubbly. Oh, this is Fraser. Fraser's going to do me a solid. He's going to go up the inside of Dave Cottrell, and Dave isn't going to be able to tuck him behind. He's going to try to hang it around the outside, but now he's got me to deal with. I push Fraser along to help him get through, and I take the position as well. Meanwhile, another one at Shennington. Andrew Graham is trying to go up the inside of Miles Reitman, but then Fraser goes up the inside of Andy Graham, and I'm like, sure, don't mind if I follow through as well. I can't quite get Fraser too, but I'll take the 1 position. And then at Lid, I don't know what was going on with Andrew McWilliam here, but he got an awful exit. He lost about 4 places, including 1 position to me as well. And this was just interesting. I don't really know what happens here, but Josh Wood ends up going wide, and I follow Philip the Bull all through. This was a 3-way scrap at Rissington, and I didn't really know what was going to happen. For now, I just decided I'd sit back and just wait to see what would unfold. Miles Reitman has to go on the outside, which means I'm beautifully set up to get a nice switchback and get the position coming out of the dog leg. Okay, this one was a little bit funny because the driver in black goes up the inside of Josh Wood, completely murders him. I'm like, you know what, let's go around the outside, we'll give Josh a nice push, and we'll take the position 2. This one was at Ella Park, and these 2 drivers are side by side, so I'm going to go to the inside. I'm going to give, I think that's Harrison Earl, a nice push. I'm sure he's quite happy about that push as well, so this isn't a naughty. And then back at Glandau, I give Dave Cottrell a push, so he battles with Lewis Marchant. That's going to compromise his exit coming out of the corner. I'm going to push Cottrell, so he's got to go to the outside, and then I can switch to the inside and take the position. The final corner at Shillington is a hotspot for overtakes and a hotspot for drivers being hung out to dry, and I'm going to follow Andy Graham through and take a nice position. This one was at Clay Pigeon, and well, there's nothing really the driver on the outside could do to stop me just following through and going up the inside. As soon as I saw Greg Smith lining up this overtake, I knew it was going to end in a bit of disaster, and indeed it does. It gets very muscly between the pair of them, and I'm going to say thank you, go for the switchback, and I'll get a nice little bit of slipstream from Greg Smith, which helps me complete this overtake. Back to Clay Pigeon, and Sam Lovelace is going up the inside of Miles Reitman, but unfortunately for Sam, he's now on the outside. I'm going to push Miles along, which means that not only can Sam not overtake Miles, but I get the position too. And then at Buckmore, we've got whatever this is. It's about a 6-way fight, and I'm just going to go straight to the inside and try to get past everyone as quickly as possible. I do need to be careful though, because I still have a driver on my inside, so I have to hang it around the outside of the second hairpin, and I'm able to get a good enough drive that I can hold on to the position. This was a bit of a weird one. 3 drivers going 3 abreast into the hairpin. It ends really badly. I get both positions, but then I'm going to lose one on the exit of the second hairpin, but we still gain 1 position. I think in this position there was nothing to do but to follow Steph through on the inside. Again, a nice easy position, and I didn't have to do anything to earn it. As you could see, I definitely like to follow through, and whilst I'm a bit of a perfectionist, some of my overtakes don't always stick. But it's the thought that counts, right? Our first failed overtake was going up the inside at Ella Park, but because the driver in front lost his rear end, I couldn't carry my momentum, and I didn't gain the position. Well, I desperately tried to send Fraser into the final hairpin, and well, it worked until I overshot the corner, and then Fraser got the switchback, and you'll see him fire through on the inside into turn 1. At Clay Pigeon, I saw Jack O'Neill setting up Steph Theodorou for an overtake, so I set myself up to follow through, and I even gave Jack a nice push, but unfortunately for me, Steph just wanted to cock block, and I, as a result, couldn't follow through, and I had to sit behind. In the night at Buckmore Park, I got a good run on Lewis. It's not a good run, but I sent it nonetheless up the inside, but Lewis, fair play to him, he hung it around the outside of Garda, and he held on to the position. Oh my god, kids, we're nearly halfway through. That means it's time for an ad break. I'm joking, we need to speed things up. Time for a montage. Before we move on to my top 15 overtakes, here are some of the sends that didn't quite make the cut. With that said, let's move on to my top 15 overtakes. And don't forget to let me know down in the comments which of these is your favorite overtake. And also don't forget that Milky Cereal merch is now a thing. And you can go get your own hoodie or beanie through the link down in the description below. In all honesty, this overtake would be much higher up on the list if you could actually see what was happening. But I managed to get a good run and it was really wet, but from a kart length back, I sent it up the inside going into Garda. It was really slippery on the apex, so being able to find the traction there to actually get a drive was ridiculous. And it was enough for me to get the lead and take the win at Buckmore Park. And if anyone's watching, particularly Fraser, and wants to bring up a certain penalty, you can take that penalty and you can shove it where the sun don't shine. This overtake came at the end of a super long battle, but I finally figured out what I needed to do, which was parking it on the apex. So I sent it up the inside and I knew Fraser was going to go for a switchback, so I just held the car on the apex until I felt a bit of contact, and then I drove off into the sunset to take the victory. Here we have another wet overtake at Buckmore Park, and again it was very slippery on the inside, but when I saw these two drivers battling a bit, I thought I had to go for the send. The first part was relatively easy, the hard part was finding the traction on the inside of the circuit, but I was able to just about find enough traction to win the drag race to turn 2. I have done this overtake so many times at Clay Pigeon, but there's always someone who thinks that they can hang it around the outside and then they end up going into the grass, and this time it was Steph, and it just makes it so much funnier and more entertaining to watch this overtake when you see someone who has to go grass karting at the end of it. It's hard to really say what a perfect send is, but when you pull off a great send and the driver you're racing with is aware and leaves you space, it can just look like poetry in motion. When you're racing against a very quick driver, sometimes you need to pull something crazy out of the bag, but it's important that you can trust the driver, otherwise it will not only end badly for you, but for the other driver as well. Thankfully, Fraser was incredibly fair, saw this dive bomb coming, and left me room. But let me know your thoughts. Should this have gone into the naughty list? Whilst this is a fairly standard overtake, there's something a little bit poetic about darting from one side of the kart to the other as the driver desperately looks behind him to see where I'm coming from. This was a near impossible switchback because the driver in front of me wasn't really defending, which meant that I had to get my braking absolutely spot on, and I had to time the switchback to absolute perfection to ensure that I didn't tap his kart, and somehow that managed to work. The final corner at Clay Pigeon is nearly flat out, but ever since I saw Fraser Brunton pull off an overtake into the final corner on the last lap for a race win, I knew that I had to pull off the move as well. I tried it a couple of times but never quite succeeded, until now. I do love my sends, and while there's nothing particularly special about this send, it just seems perfect. I had never actually tried to do this overtake before, let alone pull it off, so trying it for the first time against Jack O'Neill of all people, and getting it spot on, was quite special. I don't think it's possible to say that you've really raced at Ella Park unless you have pulled off this dive bomb. It feels absolutely amazing, and every time I go to Ella Park, I genuinely feel honoured to be able to do this. There's a very fine line between a big send and a dive bomb, but I think this was on the line of a send, and we executed it perfectly. To be honest, I thought this deserved to be in the follow-through section, but considering there are 3 drivers we overtake, it had to go into the top 15 list. We get the braking spot on, and everything just falls into place. Well, this isn't one overtake, but a series of overtakes. I got overtaking going into this hairpin, but timed the switchback to absolute perfection. However, the battle wasn't done yet because Chris Powell was giving it absolutely everything. He got the run out of turn 1, and we pulled off a beautiful little over and under up the inside of the second right-hander to reclaim the position. But you guessed it, the battle doesn't end. I went defensive into 1, but then left a little gap just to bait him, and he did go up the inside, but I was able to get another switchback. And finally, to end it off, he sent it up the inside into my favourite corner at Ella Park, but then he knew that he had to go defensive. Would he go defensive? A little bit. I decided not to take the bait. I went for the switchback, pulled off the switchback, and with that I was able to reclaim the position just about and held onto the position from there. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.